with ABC News correspondent Brad Melke, who was following the House Judiciary Committee yesterday and the takedown of Deputy Attorney General Ron Rosenstein. Brad Melke, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, Rod Rosenstein offered this sort of wholehearted defense of Robert Mueller and his Russia investigation, but he was met with a lot of resistance, particularly from Republican members of the House Judiciary Committee, who are beginning to make noise, saying it's becoming clear to them that this team is biased. Of course, one team member, a special agent of the FBI, was booted from the investigation after those text messages surfaced where he called Donald Trump an idiot. They noted that several members of the team have given money to Democratic candidates and causes before, and so now Rod Rosenstein was pressured to say, would you consider firing Robert Mueller if asked by President Trump? That hasn't happened yet. But at this point, Rod Rosenstein said no, he wouldn't, because he hasn't seen anything necessarily that's been untoward from Mueller so far.
Yeah, they're sort of pinning their hopes on this this officer and his girlfriend or wife, who also worked for the Bureau, who found out, I guess, doesn't like Donald Trump. He was fired a long time ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, Peter Strzok, the other guy who no one can figure out how to pronounce his name, was an FBI agent who he made these texts throughout a lot of the campaign season of 2016. That was the same time he was helping to lead the charge on the Hillary Clinton email investigation. It became clear that he was no big fan of President Trump. Also, he and this FBI attorney, Lisa Page, were also texting nasty things about other Republican candidates, but also Bernie Sanders and Eric Holder and some other Democrats. However, both of them ended up working on this Mueller investigation for a while. However, that was before it was technically the Mueller investigation. When Mueller came on, Strzok was already there. After those texts came to light, that is when Mueller and his team asked that agent to leave. So that's one of the reasons Rosenstein says, look, if you're looking to figure out whether Robert Mueller is straight down the middle, the answer is yes.
Right, because he fired the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did we find out about these text messages? Were they doing it on a government phone?
Yeah, it appears that this would have been on the government phones, and that these two were colleagues, but they also apparently were lovers, and that's why you were seeing this sort of personal nature of these hundreds of texts between them. And like I said, they covered a large array of topics, but the one they kept coming back to was President Trump. It was clear that these were often on nights when you'd see a debate or a big news story featuring Donald Trump. That was when texts started flying saying, oh my gosh, he might win. Another one saying, OMG, he's an idiot. Talking about how, I believe at one point, Peter Strzok calls him bigoted and says that he's full of nonsense. These were the sorts of things coming from these texts, and Republicans on the committee were saying, I'm sorry, I get that, FBI agents are allowed to vote and to have political affiliations, but this just seems unduly biased, and they had a hard time believing that kind of agent wouldn't end up letting that affect his work somehow.
Yeah, these are the same people who investigated Hillary Clinton in Benghazi, right?
Well, that's right. And there is something to say about the idea that investigators generally don't like the people they're investigating that much. Usually don't get people to sign up for 6-month or year-long assignments when they're big fans of the person they're investigating. That has its own sort of set of consequences. So whether it's Kenneth Starr's investigative team, whether it's Robert Mueller's team, or whether it's FBI investigating mob bosses, generally they're not big fans of those people. But as Rod Rosenstein was saying, there's a big difference between having an affiliation and letting that actually affect your work. And he said no one's planting evidence, no one's making up witnesses. They are looking for actual evidence of actual crime.
Did he say how long this investigation was going to last for?
He didn't, and he said he has no idea thus far. You've heard the White House say that they're confident. At one point, they said they were confident it would wrap up by the fall. Then it became the end of the year. Now the White House is saying they're hoping it wraps up early next year. But coming from the Mueller camp, there's absolutely no indication.
Brad Melke, have a good day. Thanks for checking in.